I would like to start with all of you. I mean, with Chaitra first, and to ask about how they would like to disrupt the world. Tell us something that you're doing so different, or something that will surprise us all, that will disrupt the world.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Hope I make this. I'm starting the session. I'm Dr. Chaitra. I'm heading a team at Vipragen Biosciences. It's a typical CRO, but we're also developing a lot of platforms for testing drugs. So I think of late, I think pandemic definitely has hit the alarm bell, right? So we are into developing platforms for cancers and vaccines, and we also develop animal models. You've heard of vaccines given emergency approval from ICMR, WHO to get into clinical trials. So we are the one who kind of clear or make sure that these drugs are safe to be handled or treated in humans. So Vipragen Biosciences is such organization. So we also have an R&D unit wherein we develop IP. So we are working on a couple of projects. Interesting projects are into the neurological sciences, Alzheimer's, and also into multi-drug resistant antibiotics and wound healing. So these are three areas that we are working on. So something, yes, I'm not sure at this context, I can say it's a disrupting, but definitely this kind of work is definitely required, on a longer run. And vaccines, especially vaccines, have proven that they are the life-saving drugs. So that's where we are.
Yeah, that's fantastic. But tell me, just as an aside, I mean, where is India when it comes to stem cell research? Which is where I think the latest of technology, and that's where the latest advances in medical sciences is happening.
Yes, a lot of work has been done in stem cell research, no doubt about it. But that has to be how well it is translating into treatments, how well it is into therapies, or that is very important. India is still need to mature as a market there, and a lot of cross-border collaborations are happening for the same in the similar area, especially the treatments like autoimmune diseases. Stem cells are used extensively. Initially, it was discovered for cancer therapies, but now there are so many life-threatening, not life-threatening. There are chronic diseases, even including diabetes, arthritis. So these are some of the diseases. Definitely, stem cell therapy is being used.
So do you see there is potential for someone to get into stem cell and disrupt that part of the world?
Definitely. So
there is
still
potential for all of you guys to look into it.
Still, the application part of stem cells is, it's an open space.
So are we far behind? Any idea? I'm just question, are we far behind from the rest of the world, or where is India when it comes to stem cells?
Not really. When it comes to pharma and healthcare related innovations, I think India is almost on par with our counterparts in US or any other.
That's great to hear that.
Yes.
Yeah. Next to Ravi. Ravi's got a product which when I heard about it, I felt and I thought that I wish I had thought about it. So as simple an idea, sometimes simplest ideas are the best. So Ravi, tell me, how are you going to disrupt the Indian marketplace?
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Ravi Kabra from Skippi Icepops. So in case if a few of you are wondering what's an ice popsicle, let me just first start with that ice popsicle is something, the ice Pepsis or the Chuskis that you would probably be enjoying during your school days. And I'm sure you would all agree that for the last 20, 30 or even 40 years, none of you would have probably tried it out for various reasons. Apparently, we ventured into the ice popsicle by chance. We had just moved back from Australia and we wanted to do something different and exciting in India. And looking back over here, when my kids wanted to have ice popsicles, we realized that there was absolutely nothing in the market that I as a parent could actually, probably go ahead and give it to my kids without any kind of a guilt. India being such a hot and humid country was absolutely having nothing here to offer, whereas countries like US, Canada, and Australia, which are much colder, had amazing billion-dollar industries in the ice popsicle, and this was completely surprising. So I was just telling everyone in the panelists also while we were having a discussion that sometimes the simplest of ideas are actually sitting right next to you and we tend to ignore it, assuming that yaar, ye to ho hi nahi sakta. But again, Skippi now has become the first brand in India from the ice pop segment. We are the first of its kind, which is again 100% natural. So absolutely no guilt for anyone to actually try it. But when it comes to disruption, I want to add is that what ice cream industry say 20-25 years was back. It was just getting picking up from there, and now Icepops is going to be the next big player. I've already seen that in the last 18 months of our launch, we have seen smaller brands coming in regional level, and to be honest, we are never scared of them. We're rather welcoming brands to join in because this is how a category has to be developed, and Skippi will definitely be on top of these brands as a market leader. And we're disrupting the market because a simple little product which is enjoyed and loved by everyone, we had to do is create a product in terms of confidence, create a proper supply chain, make sure that the product is packed amazingly well and then delivered to the consumers. And India is a country where foodies are always there. People who want to try new products, new beverages, and that is why Skippi picked up pretty well. And obviously, to take to the next level, we gained popularity in the Shark Tank India series there last year, and thankfully after that we've been you guys even come up with this idea. So I say, as an entrepreneur, when you want to do something, ideas will come running by to you, and disruption for such kind of a markets is something very challenging, but then it is even more exciting that you're actually creating a new category all by itself in a huge country like India.
Many years. What was the eureka moment for you? When did it strike you suddenly?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So my co-founder Anuja, who's my wife as well, we had moved to Australia for 7 years and we used to enjoy the local ice popsicle brands out there, never realizing that this would actually become my next venture back in India. And then when we decided to move back to India, I wanted to do something. Obviously, India ke kuch to karna hai, and we wanted to start up. We were looking for projects which was exciting and which had those kind of the kind of a kick which an entrepreneur always wants. And we kept looking everywhere, didn't find anything exciting. And apparently, my sister came down to live with us in Australia. And while going back to India, she was packing these local ice popsicles for herself, for her kids in her suitcase. And I'm sitting right there and saying, "Why are you even taking it? India mein to bahut sare brands honge." And she turns up and says, "Koi bhi brand nahi hai jis pe hum bharosa kar sakte hain." And that was the eureka moment for us. A small little sentence worked for us.
That said it all in that sense.
Absolutely.
But what Ravi hasn't shared with you, and he did share with us when we were sitting outside, is the fact that they have also disrupted the logistics market because they don't have to go through the cold chain. Right?
Absolutely.
And they've got a product and packaging that even if it's sold outside and someone doesn't have a refrigerator, you can heat it again. I mean,
you can freeze it again.
Home. Sorry, freeze it again and you have it without any kind of loss of flavor, taste, or even, of course, quality of it won't change.
So, as an entrepreneur, we always need to understand what are the challenges that's actually thrown at you in terms of your product or your service that you're offering to the market. And we realize that India mein sabse bada problem, the biggest challenge is always the supply chain, especially in the refrigerated van or a refrigerated supply chain. Especially in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, very few retailers would actually be able to take kind of a freezer or something to store your product, and then electricity cost is always on top of it. So we decided to try something new. Apparently now we cracked the code. Skippi now is manufactured, distributed and retail at an ambient temperature in a liquid form itself. As a consumer, you and I can actually buy the brand, take it home, freeze it, and then enjoy it for the next couple of days.
And we can carry it in our pocket to conferences like this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
Over to you, Vishal.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Vishal Agarwal. I'm co-founder of Locobuzz. Locobuzz is a unified consumer experience platform. To put it simply, we help brands connect better with their consumers, engage with them, understand what people feel like about their products and services. We help them gauge their marketing spends to get a sense of ROI, especially in this world of influencer engagement. It becomes extremely important. all in all, the idea behind the platform is to help brands increase the lifetime value of their consumers.
So don't be surprised if after this session that both Vishal and Ravi get together and work together as well.
Absolutely. I'm already exchanging all the flavors he has.
There you go. Siddhartha, tell me the exciting stuff that you're doing. Or tell all of us.
I'd like to thank BW Disrupt for the opportunity. Thanks a lot, Anurag sir, for this. I think, sir, I don't know about disruption, but we are essentially in the space of internet publishing. When we started this 5 years ago, we could see the mobile revolution coming. You go in the streets, you see everyone's heads down, watching or reading on the phone. The so-called internet consumption on the mobiles had gone up. So we create entertainment content. We write about what's happening in the lives of celebrities, influencers, gamers, in English and Hindi, via which we reach out to over 2 crore audience organically on a monthly basis, via which we sell our ad spaces, we do native advertising, we make margins out of it. And on top of that, we have some 7-8 IPs, innovative IPs focusing on the OTT space, gaming space, movie space, etc. So we are a new age media company. We write, we create social media content, we create video content. We are 1 million plus organic on YouTube. We're part of the Google News MCN network of YouTube. And as we go, we want to kind of venture out in the regional market space down south. That's a huge market for us. And of course, look at more opportunities to create more IPs. That's it, sir.
What about challenges? I mean, what are the key challenges that you face? And, how do you see it in the coming years? How do you plan to kind of disrupt that as well?
So challenges essentially is that, there are one too many when it comes to creating content on the internet. So like sir's idea is unique. Our is, the creation of a blog in today's time and creating good content is not too challenging. But the idea is to understand the overall ecosystem of keywords, how the search engine works. You have to constantly engage with the so-called the Metas and Googles and YouTubes of the world to understand the changes they are doing so that you can create content accordingly. Challenges again is the advertising model where the CPM rates might fluctuate. If the ads spend industry goes down, then your P&L takes a hit. But this is also an opportunity where with the 5G coming in, with more and more internet consumption increasing, so the space has great potential to increase. So the competition is there, but the propensity of more and more consumption patterns are also there. So the challenge is the revenue, but I think, like I was talking offline with you, it would be a publisher's delight if tomorrow people pay for your content. Subscription model from AVOD to SVOD model maybe, but it's too early days, especially for new players like us, because larger players are yet to experiment in that place, like a Times of India or an Express Group or a BW Group. But I think eventually, with more internet awareness increasing and the UPI is becoming stronger and stronger, I think subscription model is something is definitely on the cards.
Being from the advertising world, and I've spent maybe too many years not to ask this question, and that is, how would you differentiate yourself from rest of the competition? Anybody can come in and do this, right? So what do you guys do? And I'll go with all of you. And how do you differentiate yourself from competition?
You want to start with me? So you're absolutely right. So we are not doing anything which is very, very different from what has already been done. But when you start something, you tend to do what you have knowledge of. So that's how your initial entrepreneurial journey starts when you're from a middle class background. That आप वही करोगे जो आपने सालों साल सीखा है, उसमें try करोगे, and then you try to kind of branch out. In this case, how we differentiate primarily is to constantly look at the changing algorithm pattern that happens, the keyword pattern that happens. So it's a constant evolution of the content generation process. Like if I had to write on his product tomorrow, the way I write, the way I send, the audience I'm targeting will be very different from maybe a target audience of, say, a MyGlam or something else. So audience targeting, audience content creation, understanding of the new age way the patterns are happening is very, very important. So you can't think आज जो मैंने किया एक महीने बाद भी same तरीके से content consumption pattern होगा. It's changing every day, and you have to be smart enough to tap it.
So it's about how you create the content and how you package it that makes you different, right? I mean, The same goes for all the news channels. They have
Also
the same news to
distribution,
talk
sir.
about, right? How do they package it and how do they put it across? I mean, I guess the same applies to you. Vishal, what would you do?
So for us, it's more straightforward. We have to ensure that there are enough and more USPs because when you talk about the space we are in, there are players, right? What we have done to tackle it is to do more for less and be very clear on a value proposition. So we are probably, apart from one other company in the globe, we are the only company which is able to bring in 4 core elements into the play on a single unified platform, which is we help brands listen, we help brands analyze, we help them engage and automate. To do all 4 together, you'll probably end up buying 2, 3, 4 different product licenses, and that becomes a huge sort of value proposition for us.
Yeah, so with us, it's pretty interesting because as of now, there is not much of a competition that we should be looking at or getting worried of. But certainly competition is coming from anywhere it could be coming. They're probably preparing it right now. But we take it pretty positively because competition will help us create a category there. And in a country as big as India, I would say that there's no idea, there's no process or a product which is absolutely unique to yourself. Someone else is already doing it. For every payment, financial companies, you will see there is Google Pay, Paytm, and so many more. The same way, I think probably we will have a lot of ice popsicle brands also coming in, most certainly. But one thing is for certain, what differentiates Skippi with any other brand which comes up will definitely be my team. The better my team is, the better my deliverables are, the better my USPs are. People are bound to be connected with us as a brand, which they would want to consume and cherish throughout their lifetime. So I think we'll have to continue focusing on our deliverables and then look at scaling up faster. Then, because by the time the competition comes, we should be available at a pan-India level, making sure that we're already there and there. The competition doesn't impact us enough.
So, by people, you mean the people you have behind you and with you?
Absolutely, my team, my core team. Absolutely, everyone at the front end, at the back end, whether it's the production, it's the marketing, accounting, anyone. The entire experience of enjoying Skippi comes not just from me or anyone or my co-founder, my wife Anuja. It comes from the entire single person of my team.
But Ravi, we didn't meet before. We just met just a few minutes back. Yeah. That's why I changed my business from advertising to headhunting.
All right.
But people make all the difference, actually.
Yes, it does.
Chaitra, yours.
Yes. So basically, we are our own competitors, I can say, because in pharma, the world is so complex and so many problems are there to solve. So the whole challenge is to bring a biological product or a drug to the market. The age-old process is about a decade, and more than $1 billion goes into getting a drug into the market. So the challenge is, how do you overcome the time that is invested into a drug to get to the market, and also the cost, right? So our challenge is to, if you can overcome these, the innovation in not just getting the drug into the market, but innovation in your process to make it less cost effective and the time that is taken for this. So what do we do to differentiate ourselves or to get into the market, or to be there? And we are not like a decade old startup and then be there, and to get into the market or to get a blockbuster drug, it takes more than 10-15 years. No, what are we doing as startups in pharma sector? So what we do is, there is something called IP, right? For in pharma, it's kind of rules the world. So once the patent is out, then it becomes a generic drug. So Indians are actually the jugaad, you can say. What are they doing? They're repurposing the drugs which are known or patented for some diseases. They are being, I'm very sure if the chemists work on it, they can be utilized for some of the others. Some of the cancer drugs are used for arthritis, even some of the diabetes, and they have to do a very short period of or a panel of tests for that. So that is something, time-wise, startups have become quite innovative. They collaborate with bigger companies. These are things. In terms of even pricing, lot of innovative process Indian startups have come up with, wherein the generic drugs the pricing has drastically come down for, it could be TB or cancer, some of the life-saving drugs. So that's this disruption that is happening in Indian market. It's not about new drugs coming in, but existing drugs itself. There's a huge, it's a very complex system. So that's how we are trying to differentiate.
Very interesting. In fact, even I didn't know that you could use one drug for something else, and that's being done. And that's news to me, certainly. But the generic product, I think there's so much of potential in India because of the pricing. And I remember I was a jury on the 40 under 40, maybe a year or two back. There was this guy called Arjun, something from Kolkata. He's got a good funding from Tata's as well. So whatever. But yours is the toughest one to replicate, right?
Yes.
Because of the money involved in order to kind of create that IP.
Definitely. It is one of the toughest. And as I said, people are utilizing it for repurposing the drugs for various, including the processes and other things. So it's one of the toughest, I can say. Yes. That's why it becomes a blockbuster drug, right? Once you get a drug into the market and you rule, the Pfizer's, Reddy's, why do they rule the market? So they would have invested that amount of money and the time and the technology, basically.
So talking about money, I mean, is funding an issue? I mean, although we hear so much of funding available, but is funding happening? And when I was speaking with you, gave me some of the statistics in terms of what funding is there in India so far, but yet it's not happening. We keep hearing it's not happening as well, but it's available. And where is the dichotomy?
Yes, if you just look at pharma sector, yes, pharma or healthcare, definitely funding. See, basically, it is about, as I said, the risk that involves in a pharma to get a drug into the market. So our investors are definitely risk averse. So they wouldn't want to invest. But of late, technology is being utilized. That's why you see a lot of VCs and Ps are trying to invest into trying to understand because of the long gestation period. Definitely, yes, it is there. But with, as I said, a lot of collaborations and sharing of IPs and in licensing, these are some of the ways wherein the pharma sector. If you look at medical devices, the biggest challenge is regulations. If regulations in India on pharma and healthcare is taken care, I think the investments also will flow in. See, there's no dearth of funds, I would say. And we ourselves, though, as I said, it's very difficult to even to tell my co-panelists that what I do. We are able to crack and get the funds. In fact, Karnataka IT Venture Fund has invested, and a couple of fund houses have invested in our company because we have. See, basically, we need to create that value in terms of IP. So, and also, as I said, industry academic collaborations, and we take it to one level wherein the credibility is built in, and I think the investors will definitely come in. You show a way, a path to it, and definitely that would, there's no dearth of funds, I would say.
So can I, and I'm completely ignorant and I have no idea about how this business works and how the pharma industry works. Can I compare it with, let's say, the mining industry, where they keep mining, and they find one diamond to mine somewhere, it makes up for all the 100 mines that gave them nothing? I mean, is it quite similar to that when you get into pharma?
Yes, it was. I would say yes, it was. That's how as I said, the biggies rule the pharma market. Even, yes, it is there. Definitely it is continuous. But as I said, technology definitely made a difference. If you look at medical devices, health tech, has revolutionized. So some of the unicorns, if you take at least from out of India, 4 or 5 are from health tech. Practo, these are some of them definitely made a difference in healthcare, access to healthcare. So
yeah, but that is in terms of how do you deliver, this is the service part of it. We're talking about
the core R&D part of it. Yes, definitely it is like a gold mine.
It's like for Pfizer,
it is like a gold mine. It still works.
One Viagra can change the world. Yes. I mean, change the company. Right. So what about funding for you?
I think in the F&B space, from where we come in, funding definitely has dragged down a bit. No questions on that. But investors have been pretty active in terms of looking at the consumer F&B space all this while. Probably my thought process is that the F&B space is far more easily to be profitable, easily to scale up now than it was earlier. A lot of startups have come in, they're getting into the health segment, or it is into the different cereal categories, or many more. In fact, even in beverages, we have seen a lot of funding happening in the past. We have got wines brands getting funded as well. Of course, this year has been a little bit of challenge because I think the investments are coming a bit slow. People are being a bit more cautious. But certainly a brand which is having a good structure in place, those who are in the process or in the path to create profitability are very well addressed with, and they are also likely to get funding pretty soon. But yes, as a startup, everyone who requires this funding at certain amount of time, especially like a startup like us who's looking at the next level growth, we will definitely be looking at raising funds as soon as possible, and if you're lucky, we'll definitely be able to do it sooner.
So is it acceptable to investors to not make profits for a lifetime?
That topic is very debatable because there are a lot of startups today who are actually raising funds to burn them, right? That's the word which you use. What's your burn rate?
Absolutely. I mean, I totally didn't hear about it, didn't write about it. So there you are.
In fact, even I didn't hear about it until last few months, I would say.
And I was telling you that Abraham Koshi, who's to teach in Ahmedabad, and he's never heard of this word before. He's written a book with Kotler.
Absolutely. I'm honestly, I come from a family business background, and the first thing that my dad probably taught me was profit chahiye, right? That's how I have learned to do business, because I can't imagine how startups are burning hundreds and thousands of crores in losses and still managing to get a good sleep in the night. I can barely sleep in case if one day has not been very profitable for me. That is why the startup from day one, we have been striving to be very profitable. We are profitable today. And in such times where the funding is becoming very difficult, those startups who have actually been having their entire structure or business process based on funding are now struggling. Many of them have even closed doors today. They've shut the shop, and they've probably went back on whatever they were doing earlier. But a startup which is profitable, who have got the basic structure right, the business model right, who are profitable, we know that we will have a good amount of runway further. Whether we get funded or not, that's a different story. But we need to have the basics fundamental right in place. Once you're profitable, you get funded, you scale up, then that's extra profit for you. That's how I've been taught. I don't know what other business schools are teaching today.
But I'm going to change the track now a bit. Vishal, something what Ravi said just now, something that keeps him awake at night. What keeps you awake at night?
No, I think I completely resonate with what Ravi said. And I think what keeps me awake at night is, we have a few angel investors on board. So we are a B2B SaaS play, right? And thankfully, it's very nice to hear profitability is back in fashion because, why would you build a business otherwise? If you have honest intentions. If your intentions are something else, then it's a very different story altogether. But if you are building a business and business is not profitable, then you are actually a smart con man, and that's what you are. I believe what keeps me up night is making sure the value I have promised I generate, I create values, and I don't have investors who are logged in with for life, and I'm able to sort of give them a seamless exit. What also keeps me awake is constant ideas around how to speed up the growth. So one thing an entrepreneur is never satisfied with is the pace of growth. And keeping a pace of growth with keeping unit economics in mind is extremely interesting problem. So that's something which really keeps me up, I think. Yeah, thanks.
But tell me one thing, would you develop a metric for your own, just to get a sense how well you are doing by looking at your own customers? How are they benefiting from you? Isn't that what will keep you awake at night as well? Because
not really. Customer satisfaction is extremely important, but it doesn't keep me up in the night is because we know what the value proposition is. It's very, very clear. So we work in India with almost 180, 190 brands, ranging from a Reliance Industries to an IDFC Bank to Sleepwell to, the crypto platforms. We have a very wide-ranging set of customers. Our challenge is not the value proposition. That doesn't keep me up. We have customers working with us for the last 4-5 years.
Yeah, Yeah, but keeping aside sleep well, all the others are sleeping well as
Yes,
well.
very
All your
well.
customers.
In fact, we have seen a lot of our customers go through a lot of crisis, and we have been there with our technology and solutions to help them. We have seen insane amount of changes in Yes Bank. We have seen, we've been working with Indian hotels and Tata Group of companies for a very long time. They were our first customer actually. We have
Right.
seen a lot of changes there as well, and we have been one constant in all their journeys. So that really is, I don't think, the concern. Plus, the renewals happening gives you an assurance that you are creating value for your customers. Right? That is the biggest. Like what we say is the best money which you can raise is the customers paying you for your services.
Absolutely. But sorry to belabor the point a bit, but would you not develop a metric to see whether it has impacted their sales numbers and something that you
Of
done?
course.
Yeah, that's an important metric to talk about in the industry.
Yeah. So like I said, we are in the business of helping customers, help brands increase the lifetime value of their customers, right? So we do measure the customer satisfaction. We do measure the impact on, visits and sales. Sales is a bit tricky. It's very easy for me to say, yes, we help measure the impact on sales because it goes through a lot of loops and holes. So it's very difficult to have a direct line into sales. It's like I may have a conversation here and tomorrow I may get an account because I had a conversation here, but it may get attributed to somebody doing an online advertising, right? But yes, customer satisfaction, the changing emotions and sentiments towards a brand is extremely important and easily measurable. So that's something which we do provide to our brands.
Fantastic. Siddhartha,
Yes, sir.
please don't call me sir. Call me Sunandan. I'll feel a little younger with you guys here.
Sure.
What keeps you awake at night?
Apart from Netflix, yeah. So I think Google Analytics numbers. I mean, my co-founder is also he's a CTO, so we constantly look at the numbers going up, going down, where are we at competition. What keeps me awake, of course, are the P&L numbers, because I'm so glad that I'm sitting in a panel where they're talking about profitability. Raising funds for media entertainment has always been challenging until and unless you're aligned to a certain editorial policy, which is easier these days to get funds. But media entertainment valuations are also low. But these are certain domains which will always remain cash rich if you can do the business well, because we are not really in a product business or a bottomless pit kind of a scenario where you have to keep putting money to get consumers. So I feel it's very important, like he mentioned about being profitable. So as a company, we've been profitable from day one. And business is nothing about the operational cost, fixed cost, minus the margin that you make is something that should keep you awake every quarter to quarter. And if this quarter it has gone down, then you need to not sleep at all and figure out what I do next quarter to get the margins back. So I think the targets that we set in terms of numbers and the revenue is exciting enough to keep you awake.
Very exciting. I mean, you guys are doing such exciting stuff. Makes me feel young already. But I'll ask a very serious question that we guys in our traditional mode will always look at something about business excellence. I mean, do you invest in working on making sure there's business excellence in the way you do things with stakeholders and customers, etc.? Anybody?
So I think for us, it's a very open forum where, if you're not doing good, you lose your readership, you lose your business. It's something, if you put up a YouTube video, the response is immediate in the comment section. So for us, our consumers essentially define the kind of work that we are doing. For B2B model, of course, there are clienteles there, but with us, it's everyday validation of what we are doing. So you have to constantly keep yourself updated to the competition to ensure that you deliver what the audience wants. So that's what the challenge is for us, and then opportunity, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Business excellence across not just your team, but even your deliverable, your brand value, your brand perception is also equally important, because that's what drives growth at the end of the day. And I believe that the definition of the excellence also keep changing from time to time. There are at times matters that you need to address on immediate basis to create that kind of an environment, to create an ecosystem where growth could actually prosper easily. And then certain times you will see that 3 months down the line, you're actually focusing on something else altogether. But for a growing organization, I'm certain that we are the most youngest startups here. With just last 1.5 years, we had to look at it much more in focus, because customers are to be dealt with very carefully, because today consumers and customers have got a lot of choices. They are spoiled by the fact that they can have a delivery coming to them either in 10 minutes or even in 10 days. That is why for a brand like us, we'll have to really keep focusing on delivering excellence all the time.
Yeah. And you wear your values on your sleeve.
Yeah, I always love to carry my brand with me. I think इससे बड़ा brand क्या है जो मैं खुद ही carry कर रहा हूँ.
Chaitra, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, we are head out for a marathon, but yes, we do have a couple of splints in between. So in the sense, in the process of R&D, we also develop a lot of, what keeps us going is we develop a lot of platforms which can be, applied at various levels. So for example, in order to test a drug, we would have developed a humanoid platform wherein human cell lines are grown outside. It's not very easy, right? So what do? We actually reduce the number of animals used for these kind of testing, and we develop platforms, which eventually we use it for our own R&D, but this can be utilized for all the cancer cancer screening, right? So there is a diagnostic value to it. So this is what keeps us going. And in pharma sector, it's the credibility of the data, right? The data generated there's a huge when it comes to clinical trials, Indian market, Indian startups, there is an issue of credibility. So what do? We involve technology to kind of differentiate ourselves so that our clients know what is happening in terms of the data generated, the credibility of the data that goes to US FDA, and end of the day, US FDA or the European regulatories decide whether these drugs which are innovated here or discovered here in India can be utilized or can be brought into the market. So we keep doing our. That's how we kind of keep differentiating ourselves.
Now that's fantastic, and I can see the time clock there. We've got 3 minutes and 20 seconds left for this session to end. But before I ask any more questions, and I shouldn't actually, I would like to throw it open to everyone here. Anyone who wants to ask any question, we'll have quick questions and quick answers. Anybody?
I am Noor. I'm the Group Editorial Director for Business World.
Who doesn't know Noor?
A lot of people, but you're kind. I want to compliment the speakers and for giving out and sharing your examples. Just a very quick one. All of you represent different domains. Now, every time we're talking about the startup capital of the world and just trying to bring back to that, India being en route towards that, there are certain sectors that play up, and those were the sectors that saw the major amount of layoffs this year and all kinds of problems because of several reasons. Do these things hold us back towards actually becoming at least a number 2 in the startup capital of the world? We're already on the 3rd position. Or do you think that there'll be some of your sectors where we're already doing better than our global counterparts? Just like a generic situation, anybody can take it up.
Sure. So it's quite obvious that we have been doing much better in certain technology areas than non-technology areas. But I think to look at India being the startup capital of the world, it's not a sprint, right? So it's not a BSC index that today it's at 77, tomorrow it's 1 lakh. The question is, will it sustain that numbers, and how will it sustain those numbers? I genuinely believe that the kind of work ethos we have in India, the kind of upbringing we have, where the kind of hard work which we are open to do, is a lot more than a developed economy, and that's really the cycle of life which goes right. So we have the right age group of people. We have the right size of consumer set. We have the right ethos in terms of hard work. Where, however, we are struggling a bit is getting a direction right, that ultimately a startup is a business. And if we focus on our unit economics a little bit more rather than the vanity matrix, I think India will be a guiding light to everybody in terms of businesses.
Anyone else?
I just wanted to add here to what Vishal has said, that absolutely looking at what India is creating today is a great ecosystem of a lot of startups coming up. And unfortunately, what has happened in this year with a lot of layoffs and all, like you rightly mentioned, a lot of businesses are going to be learning and evolving out of it. Going forward, I'm certain that with these kind of changes in the market, a lot of startups will understand what's more important for them in building a great brand, not just running behind probably becoming the next unicorn or probably the biggest talk of the town, but certainly making a better model. And then India will definitely prosper is what I probably believe, especially when I come from, lived in Australia for 7 years. I used to look for opportunities to start something there. And India has got opportunities right next to the door. Every street has got a great opportunity for you to work on. So absolutely nothing can stop us.
So what are the positives? This year I heard, SoftBank and, Tiger Capital have come in, and 211 funds, new funds, it seems, have invested in India. So what does it show? We are there. We are heading towards, yes, there is all possibility that, we become second or maybe number one. You never know. So we've surpassed many such ecosystems to come third. So let's hope for getting into second or first. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. And time is up. I can see I don't have time for any more questions. And I know Noor and Anurag will throw me out if I do. But having said that, like it started, a conversation after lunch is not an easy one. And I think I had an exciting time talking to these guys, young guys who are doing so well. And I hope you guys had fun and enjoyed the session. Thank you so much. And thank you all for being there. Take care.